Just a moment ago, I shut my laptop for one last time, ending my current corporate gig as well as an 18-year career in the tech space, and have decided to pursue my own endeavors. Hi, everyone. My name is Don, and 2 weeks ago, I did something completely crazy. I decided to leave my corporate job and pursue my own venture full time. And as you can imagine, I am super excited about it, but also completely nervous because this is one of the most riskiest decisions I've ever made. I think what makes this even more unique or especially crazy is that if you were to look at the conventional ways of starting your own business or side hustles, as it's recommended by many entrepreneurs that you can find, hours of content for here on YouTube, is especially if you have a full-time job, is to keep your job and then spend time outside of your core working hours on this side hustle. Some even say work your 9 to 5 and then also spend your hours from 5 to 9 focused on that side venture. And I think that makes a lot of sense. For one, it gives you a lot of security because you're keeping your job while at the same time getting the opportunity to prove out your business idea. Is it viable? Is it something you actually want to do? Or have you learned that after doing it for a while, it's not something that you would see yourself doing full time? And it also gives you this moment of, okay, I'm now finally making some money. I can now start to transition away from my corporate gig and focus on my own business. And I'm not doing any of that. I think what that model really fails to really consider is for those of us, if you're like me, that spend far more hours than a 40-hour work week working for your corporate job. I would say in my career, most weeks I'd say I've spent 60 hours or more working, and then most recently in the last 2 or so years, it's been more like 80 to 100 hours. And so, really doing that 9 to 5 and then booking and doing it with my side hustle just really wasn't something that was on the table for me. So I'm doing a different approach, which is why I'm sharing it here with you. Is because it might be more risky, but I think it's really the only option to really go out and give something a go. And so what I've done is I've saved some money to give myself a little bit of room to start this business and really prove out the model and understand if it's going to be viable or not. So I think before I start to share what it is that I'm going to be doing, I think it makes sense to take a moment on how I got to this exact moment of feeling comfortable enough to do this crazy thing and leave my job and really leap into this business head first. So actually, this journey started 10 years ago, and I didn't know it at the time, but when my wife and I bought our first house, it really set a lot of things in motion to where I am today. So, as you can imagine, buying your first home, there's this long list of all the things that you want. You want it to be upgraded and nice and new and have a good location, and so many other things that go into what you want to have when you buy such a big purchase. And as it often goes, your list of wants and what the budget can afford creates a bit of a mismatch, and so you have to concede on certain things. And so for us, my wife and I, we found this great house in a great area, but unfortunately, it needed a lot of work. The upside is that we were able to, get a really good price for it, but it needed a lot of work to get it to where we needed it to be and wanted it to be. There were some glaring things on the inspection report to, get it safe to live in, and then also the kitchen really just didn't function very well with the rest of the house, and needed to have like a wall removed and the kitchen moved forward, and space for an island, and all of that, as you can imagine. So we were really excited. Our real estate agent actually had um, a contractor that they could recommend, who they'd worked with in the past, and we met with him a couple of times and felt really comfortable. He gave us a bid. It happened to be within the budget that we had to be able to allocate towards the project, and then also the time frame in terms of when we were able to move in made sense, so that way we weren't paying both a mortgage and rent at the same time. So we decided to give the contractor the deposit that they asked for to get going, which was actually 50% of the entire project. and we purchased the house and we're off to the races. Everything was going really, really well. The demo was happening. He was super responsive. We were, starting to think about like finishes and all of that. But shortly thereafter, work kind of came to a halt. And we would go to the house and see that nothing had been done. And that would happen, for several days in a row. And we try and give that contractor a call, and he became less and less responsive. And if we could get a hold of him, he would typically say something to the line of, "Oh, I need more money to be able to pay workers," or some other excuse, but generally was a demand for more money. And we were getting closer and closer to the deadline of moving in, and we absolutely didn't want to move into construction sites. So we actually a couple times acquiesced and gave him the additional funds that he was saying he needed to be able to get this going. Unfortunately, those funds didn't really help. The move-in date came, and we had to move into a construction site. And also on top of that, the utility, the gas utility specifically, ended up coming to turn on the utility and red tagged us. And so it made it so we couldn't actually heat our home or warm up water. And we had no choice but to live there. So, as you can imagine, it was extremely stressful. We were out of our league in the sense that we'd never done any type of construction or renovation before, or even worked with a contractor. And this person's not giving us any any time or service. Is so we actually had to end up walking away from that contractor. We looked at potentially even suing him, and that just wasn't in the cards, because it turns out there was actually a few other people that are trying to do the same thing, and we were advised that we probably wouldn't see any of that money anyhow. And we really just needed to focus on getting it to our house was a little bit more comfortable to live in, because it was wintertime and the nights were definitely getting well below freezing. And you can imagine it being below freezing in winter without heat, it's pretty uncomfortable. So since we had no money left, we definitely didn't have the 50% of the project done. It was still in studs and nothing had started to be finished. We had no ability to hire another contractor to step in, so it ended up being me. Luckily, I had some experience with woodworking and had some tools, so it wasn't exactly starting from scratch, and it gave me a little bit of comfortability to really give it a try. But it was incredibly stressful because I was literally buying supplies and appliances and cabinets and countertops with a credit card, and no idea like how we're going to pay everything off on top of this new mortgage that we'd never had before. And so it was stressful to say the least, but we got it done, and it ended up being a wonderful house. The kitchen was exactly what we had envisioned. It functioned very, very well, and it made it a great home for entertaining and having friends and family over. And we just have many fond memories of that house. Fast forward about 2 years, and we actually got the itch to move again. And as typical with buying a new home, whether it's your first home or second home or 100th home, your list of desires and your budget oftentimes don't match. And so, in order to get at least the location that you want, you oftentimes have to get the house that needs some work, some renovating to get it where it needs to be to, have all those boxes checked on what you're looking for. And so here we were again, potentially looking at another renovation. And you would think after that first experience, we'd absolutely shy away from doing it, and quite the opposite actually happened. We leaned into the stress and the chaos and bought a house that needed pretty much the entire first floor. As a much bigger project to be redone. Moved a kitchen location completely, moved a laundry room, shifted the way walls worked. It was a huge renovation, and turned out just absolutely just beautiful. I would say our favorite house to date. And I'd say for the last decade, we've done that every couple years. We buy a new house and uh, spend some time renovating it, having it function even better, and looking the way that we'd love it to look. And it's just been quite the experience, and I've learned so much from one, don't pay a contractor 50% down for a project. You can actually oftentimes negotiate things like if they need some money up front, it's oftentimes for supplies. So you can even offer to buy those supplies if you have a list, to be able to then have them delivered to the house, so that way they're there on site when they're ready to work. Or doing it milestone based instead. So do all of, I don't know, plumbing will pay you out, all of electrical pay you out. type of situation. So here I am today. Homes of potential and turning them into beautiful places to live is what prepared me for this venture. And I'm ready to introduce you to phase one, which is the North Slope project. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on the north side of a mountain, perched up above a lively creek stocked with rainbow, brook, and brown trout. And we're going to be turning this into a vacation rental. And we decided to go with a vacation rental as opposed to something long term because of the area where we are. We're in Western North Carolina, which is a bit of a refuge in the summer months for people to come and get a reprieve from all the heat, as well as just stunning fall colors. On top of that, this house sits a little bit higher in elevation, and it's just 10 minutes away from a newly opened ski resort, Hatley Point, which has state of the art equipment to really make it one of the best destinations to ski or snowboard this side of the Mississippi. On top of that, it has an incredibly good location in terms of what you can access inside of 30 minutes. So this house is 30 minutes to downtown Asheville, which is renowned for dining, beer, as well as local shopping. And it also hosts the North America's largest house, which is the Biltmore Estate, which is a beautiful place to go and visit, especially their gardens. Also, within a stone's throw, we have the Appalachian Trail, world-class hiking and fishing, as well as Mars Hill University. So there's really so much close by, which is very unique just because in the mountains, sometimes you might be, 10 miles away the way the bird flies towards, to something, but it will take you 45 minutes to drive there just because the roads are so windy and you're trying to navigate mountains and so forth. So being that we're inside 30 minutes to so much really means that this is a location that I think will be ideal for many people that are looking to travel to this area. So for the last year, I've spent all my free time, which hasn't been much, renovating this house. And there's really not a square inch that hasn't been touched. But at the same time, it's nowhere near being done. I wouldn't say that there's a room that's ready to go. And so that's really going to be the first series of videos that I'm going to be sharing with you is building out each room, going through the design, what I'm thinking about, what I've learned, any tips that I've learned along the way, as well as give an opportunity for this community that I'm building to provide feedback or ideas and really collaborate on the final product. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this journey with you, and I will be updating you with videos as quickly as I can. But I'd say in the meantime, do hard things, be kind, and I'll see you next time.